how to make this fast and easy water bottle holder. It comes together very fast and it's super easy to make. So let's get started. To make this water bottle, you're going to need 5 things, the usual suspects. We're going to need some yarn, a scissors, a measuring tape, a yarn needle. I like to use the Susan Bates ones, very easy to thread, and I'll have the link to that in my blog post and also in the written pattern. And a J 6.0 millimeter crochet hook. The yarn that I'm using is Lily's Sugar and Cream in Blueberry, and the one that I made over here is made in Lily's Sugar and Cream in Sea Glass. I'm also going to show you another version that you can make in Lion Brand 24/7 cotton, which I'm making here in the navy color, and it's made with a smaller hook, so you just add an additional round to the bottom, and I'll show you that later. So when I'm making something, I like to know where I'm going before I start. So let's just show you with a diagram how this pattern works. It starts with a circle of just 2 rounds. So what we do is we start with a magic circle, and then we chain 2. And then what we're going to do is we are going to make 11 double crochets into that magic circle. So we start here, we chain 2, and then we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 double crochets, and then we end with a slip stitch here. So that's going to be our first round. The second round we chain 2, and then in that same stitch we're going to do a second double crochet, and then in each double crochet we're going to do 2 double crochets all the way around. And we end with a slip stitch here. So that's our second round, and that makes up the entire bottom of our water bottle. The next step is we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to skip 2, and we're going to do a single crochet in the third double crochet, and we're just going to continue with that around. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip 2, and do a single crochet, and so on. So you skip 2, do 5, single crochet, skip 2, 5, single crochet, and so on. Now if you are using the Lion Brand 24/7, which is a thinner yarn, and for that I'm using a 4.0 millimeter hook. For that one you're just going to add a 3rd row, and the way that you do that is you would, I'll show you on a separate piece of paper. You'll have your first row of 12, and then you'll have your second row where you'll have 24 double crochets. So it'll be like this. And so for the third row you have a chain 2. You do a second one in that double crochet, then you do 1, then you do 2, then you do 1, then you do 2, 1, 2, and so on all the way around until you have a total of 36 double crochets in your third row. And then you will just use the exact same pattern. You'll start with a 5, chain 5, skip 2 and do a single crochet, chain 5, skip 2 and do a single crochet, and so on all the way around. So in the lilies, you're going to have a total of 8 of these rounds, and you'll just end with a slip stitch here to your first stitch. Then what you're going to do is, actually the slip stitch is going to be here, and then we're going to slip stitch 1, 2, 3 to the top of that first chain 5 space, and then we just begin all over again with chaining 5, and then we single crochet in the top of the next chain 5 space. So we're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And we just basically repeat that round, and every round is going to have the same. When you get to here, again, you're just going to slip stitch right there, and then we start all over again, slip stitch 1, 2, 3 to the top of this chain 5 space, and then you work around again. So let's show you how that looks. And if you are doing yours in the Lion Brand 24/7 cotton, you will have 12 of these chain 5 spaces all around, and they will just continue like this. So let me show you how we do this. Okay, so we start with a magic circle, and it's very easy to do. You lay the yarn on the front of your fingers. You take the yarn underneath your 3 fingers, and you're going to cross it over to the left. Bring it on top, and now hold it in place with your pinky. Now you have 2 threads here. You're going to take your hook with the hook facing down, go under the first thread, and grab and twist the second thread. Just kind of pinch that a little bit. You don't have to pinch it too tight. And then you're going to take your working yarn, you're going to yarn over and pull through a loop. And then you're going to tighten that up by pulling on the working yarn. Then what I like to do is I like to just kind of get that a little bit smaller. It makes it easier to work with. And I just kind of pinch it like this to start. We're going to start with a chain 2. This counts as our first double crochet. And then we're going to do 11 more double crochets into this magic circle. So we yarn over, go into the circle, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And that is our second double crochet of a total of 12, with the chain 2 counting as the first one. So we're going to do 10 more of those. Yarn over, go into the magic circle, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. One more time, yarn over, and I just kind of let out a little bit more of the magic circle as I go along. It makes it easier to work into, as opposed to like when it's really loose. So I kind of hold that so that the space is a little smaller and easier to work with. Has a little more tension on it. Yarn over, go into that magic circle, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So you go ahead and I'll go ahead and work around until you have a total of 12, and then I'll meet you back here. Okay, I have 2 more to go. Just going to tighten this up just a little bit by pulling on the tail. $11 and 12. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this magic circle so that it's tightened up all the way. Just kind of pull on that. I'm going to turn this, and we're going to go into the top of the second chain. So there's 1, 2. And I'm going to slip stitch. So I'm going to grab my working yarn, yarn over, pull through a loop, and before I do that, let me just tighten this loop up a little bit. Yarn over, pull through a loop, and yarn over, pull through the loop on the hook. That's the slip stitch. So now we are ready for row 2. And before we do row 2, you do have the option, sometimes it's easier to sew this in before you go on to the next round. It's up to you. Kind of gets that out of the way. So I'm going to chain 2, I'm going to pull that through, and then I'm going to sew this in. So to sew this in, just going to thread the needle. Again, pull it nice and tight, and then just go into your stitches around the circle. Pull it tight, and you'll just go around a couple of times. That's my dog drinking in the background. She wanted to be in the video. And then once you've gone around a couple of times, you can just cut the yarn. So I'll meet you back. Okay, so now we can tighten back up that loop. We've done our chain 2. That counts as our first double crochet. So we're going to do another double crochet right into that same space where the chain 2 originated from. We go into that space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we have 2 double crochets. And we're going to go into each stitch along the way and do 2 double crochets. So you can see here, this one is a little tight, so make sure you're counting as you go along and really look for those stitches. You want to go under each of the sets of V's. That's 1 and 2. Now they'll become easier to see as you go along. You can see them there. So just go ahead and do 2 double crochets into each of the stitches around, and then at the end I'll show you how we join it. Okay, so I'm at my last stitch. I've done 1 double crochet. I'm going to do the second one. And now it's time to slip stitch it to the top of the second chain. So we've got 1, 2. Make sure you don't go into this one because that's not the right place. That's basically like your second stitch. So 1, 2, we're going to go into that second chain. We're going to yarn over, pull through a loop, and yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. And that's your slip stitch. And so now we're going to begin our mesh, our 5 chain space meshes. So we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to single crochet into the third. We go under those 2, that V, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. That's a single crochet. So we're going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and go into the third one. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's a single crochet. So you're just going to do that all the way around. I'll meet you at the end to show you how we finish up the row. Okay, so I have 7 loops. I'm doing my last chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to slip stitch right into, sorry about that, this guy got away from me. We're going to slip stitch right into where our original chain 5 came out of. I'm going to go right in there, yarn over, pull through a loop, and yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. And now we are going to slip stitch in the first 3 chains of this chain 5. So try not to miss this very first one. It's kind of sneaky. Go under 1 or 2 of the threads, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. Go into the second one, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook, and then the third one. And now we're ready to start our, well, that is the beginning of our second row of mesh. So now we chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we just single crochet into the top of the next chain 5 space, chain 5, go to the next chain 5 space and single crochet, chain 5, and so on. So you just do that all the way around. Okay, I've done 7 loops in my second row, and I'm back where all our slip stitches, where we began. And we're going to do another chain 5. And we are going to slip stitch into where we started our first chain 5. So we're going to go right in there. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. And now we just do the exact same thing to start row 3, which is we slip stitch into the first 3 chains, That's 1, that's 2, and that's 3. First 3 chains of the first 5 chain space from the second row. Now we're ready to start all over again, where we chain 5, single crochet to the next one, chain 5, single crochet to the next one. So you're just going to continue in that way until you can just keep checking with your water bottle to see if it fits. You know, just keep checking, because it's going to, as you're making it, it's going to be kind of like this. And then once you put the bottle in, it's going to stretch out. So just keep checking it as you go so that it fits your water bottle. For this one, this is a Camelback 25 ounce, and I did a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rows of mesh. I'm making this one for my mom's, which is a little smaller, so I'll probably only do 10 or 11. And I want to show you one other thing if you would like to make this a little bit fancier. If you would like to add in a little more flair or fanciness to your water bottle holder, you can add in rows of shells, 5 double crochet shells. And the way that that works is, this is the beginning of a row, and so instead of doing a chain 5 over to here, we're going to do 5 double crochets into this single crochet here. So let me show you that. Yarn over, we're going to go into that single crochet, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. That's our first double crochet. We're going to do 4 more of those. And then we're just going to single crochet to the top of that chain 5 space. So instead of creating an open space, we now have a closed space, and it's going to give us another look than just the mesh. So you can have rows where, actually I've done it on this one here. You can have rows where you have some spaces filled in where it's not all mesh. So it just gives a different look. So you're just going to continue like that. I'll show you one more. Just go to the next single crochet and do 5 double crochets in there. And 5, and then remember what we do? Single crochet in the top of that next chain 5 space. So go around, I'll show you how to finish that row. Okay, so we're back to where we started that row. So we're going to do another 5 double crochets where that row started. And 5. And then to end this row, what we're going to do is we're going to connect it right here where we started. Where the first shell started. So we're going to go in here. Snug up that loop, yarn over, pull through a loop, and yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. So now to begin another row of mesh, we're just going to do the same thing that we did with the chain, which is we're just going to slip stitch to the top, 1, 2, 3, to the top of that 5 double crochet shell, and we're just going to begin again with chaining 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we go to the 3rd double crochet of the next shell and we do a single crochet, and we just continue that way around. 3, 4, 5. Go to the 3rd double crochet and do a single crochet, and just continue in that way around. And then when we get back to the end, it's just the same thing again. We're just going to slip stitch into where that chain 5 started, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook. And then we can just start again with our mesh by slip stitching to the 3rd chain of the chain 5 space and start the mesh all over again. Chain 5, single crochet, chain 5, single crochet, and just continue all the way to the top. And then keep measuring it with your water bottle to see when you need to stop. So you'll stop when your bottle fits in, and when you pull it all the way up, it reaches, the top of your water bottle. And bear in mind that it will stretch a little bit. So depending on how high up you want it to come. This one comes up, it even closes up around the very top of it. So if you only want it to close up around here, just make it according to the size that you want. I just want to point something out to you that might be helpful. So it's a place where you might make an error. So when you get to the end of a row, you might have the error of going into this slip stitch. Always remember that you need to go into where your very first chain 5 started. Okay, so what you can look for is look for all the slip stitches that went up the side of the previous row, and make sure you start in that very last slip stitch. If you're starting in a slip stitch and there's additional slip stitches above it, you're in the wrong place. So keep an eye out for that to keep yourself on track. All right, so I have just finished my 10th row. This is the bottle I'm fitting it to. It's a Camelback 21 ounce, and it is 9 inches tall. So, and I'm looking at this, my piece, and this is measuring, as I'm doing it, it looks like it's measuring only 6 inches. So you might think, oh, I'm not done yet. But let's take a look. And I did my slip stitch to end the row. I'm just going to add a couple of chains here to keep from losing my work. Pull that yarn through. And let's see how this fits. I think it's actually going to be ready to go. and it is. So when we pull it all the way up, it is, because it does stretch. The 10 rows was perfect, even though it's, because it will stretch out a little bit. So bear that in mind as you're going through on yours, that so you don't do more rows than you need. Okay, so now we're ready to make the ties that are going to cinch it. And let's take a look at how we do that. So first of all, what we're going to do is on our last slip knot, this is our last slip knot to join that last row, we're just going to pull through the yarn and we're going to cut it, leave a tail to sew in, pull that through, and we'll sew that in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to chain a length of cord that is equal to, when you double it up, how long you want it to hang on your shoulder. So these ones that I've made so far they are approximately 12 inches long. Well, actually more like 14 inches long. And so what you would do is, if you wanted yours to be that long, you will do a chain that's 28 inches long, and you're going to make 2 of them. Now this one has stretched out a bit, so you might want to make yours maybe 12 inches, which would be double that, 24 inches long each. Just make sure that each of the chains that the cords that you make are identical in length. For the chains that I used, I made just a basic chain, and then I'm going to show you how I join them together so that it doesn't dig into your shoulder, and also how it makes it easy to pick up. This way, if you have 2 loops, you might pick it up and come through and drop it. But when you connect the 2 together, when you grab it, no matter how you grab it, you're not going to drop it. I want to tell you that if you want to use a thicker cording, I have a video which I will link to in the description, and also I'll have it at the end of this video. I'll have a direct link to the video on how to make several different types of cords, several of them which are, most of them which are thicker than just a single chain. So you can, if you want to use that kind of cord instead, go ahead and check that out. So I'm going to make my cords now, and I'll meet you back here to show you how we lace it all up. Okay, so I have my 2 cords. I'm going to, with the first one, I'm going to take the 2 ends, and I'm going to go in through 2 of these loops. And then I'm just going to weave it in and out. Just going to weave it in and out of the top. The top loops. So that they both come out on the opposite side. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these 2. So to connect these 2 ends, I'm going to take the tails of the opposite one, and I'm going to slip stitch it through the chain of the other. So I'm going to grab that tail, go into the first chain, grab the tail of the other side and pull through a loop. Then I'm going to go into the next chain, pull through a loop, and I'm going to slip stitch it. And then go through the next loop, the next chain, pull up a loop and slip stitch it until I've used up my entire tail. And then on the final one, when we're out of space, I'm just going to pull that tight. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to go into the first chain and grab the tail from the other side, pull up a loop, go into the next chain, pull up a loop, and pull that through the loop on my hook. Go into the next chain, pull up a loop, slip stitch, and we're just going to slip stitch all the way down until we're kind of out of tail. And that's probably as far as I can go there. Pull that tight. So now those two are connected, and what we're going to do next is thread the other side. So to thread the other side, we're going to go in where the first ones came out. So we're just going to go in on one and in on the other. Pull those all the way up evenly, and then we're just going to weave it around. So each side is going to go through 1, 2, 3, and then do 1, 2, and 3 on that side. And then we're going to weave those two together like we did the other side with the slip stitching. Okay, so we have our cords laced and we have them connected. Now what we're going to do is we're going to connect them at the top and make it into a kind of a band that, as it rests on your shoulder, doesn't dig into your shoulder. And that's one function of this. And the other function is going to be that it's going to hold these two cords together, and it's going to make it easier for you to cinch it. So the first step is to make sure that they are lined up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go past where we did the joins. And you know, this part is kind of up to you, like how long you want the strap to be. you know, if you want it to be this long or a little longer. So I'm going to go maybe 5 stitches beyond where they're joined. And I'm going to take my yarn, I'm going to go through the first chain on one side and another chain on the other side. And I'm going to grab my yarn. We're going to put it on the hook, and I'm going to pull it through both of those chains. And now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to pull that tight. Then I'm going to go into the next chain on one side, and the next chain on the other side. And I'm going to weave in this tail as I go. So I lay that on top of my hook as well. I'm going to yarn over, pull through a loop, and then pull through 2. And that's 1 single crochet done. So we're just going to do that again. Go through the next chain on one side, also on the other side, keeping your tail in there as well, so that becomes woven in as you go. So we're just going to single crochet those 2 together down to about here, and then I'll meet you back. When you get to the section where you've done your slip stitching, it can be a little tight, but just keep looking for your next stitch. Go in, yarn over, keep that tail end in there. Come through both and single crochet. And just take your time going down that section. So when you get to this point, you can either tie it off with a slip stitch into the next 2 stitches, or you could go back up the other side. So I'm just going to do a slip stitch here, and I'm going to turn. I'm going to take my yarn and put it through here. So I'm going to come over to the other side. And now I'm going to go back along this side, so it'll be a little bit thicker. But if this is good enough for you, then that's good enough. So I'm going to go back along this side here with an extra row of single crochets, and that's going to make it a little bit more it's going to make the band a little wider and a little more comfortable on the shoulder. Just want to show you how this looks as I'm coming back on this side. There's still kind of 2 edges here. So I'm just going into one side and then the other side and continuing with my single crochets. And when you get to the place where they joined, it can be a little it can look a little messy, but it doesn't have to be. Just go with where the next stitch looks like it goes. Just keep doing your single crochets nice and uniform, and it'll all line up. So we're almost actually here at the end. Okay, so I'm at the end here and I'm just going to slip stitch the last two together. And pull that yarn through. Cut the yarn. Pull that tight and I'll just sew in that end. Okay, so now our band is made and we are going to put the bottle in. I've sewn in all my ends. Let's see how it looks. Oops. Just going to pull that up. And it's all done. Ready to give to my mom. So thank you for watching. If you like this video and you found it useful, please like the video. Please go ahead and also share it with any friends that you know who like to do crafts or crochet or knitting. And tell them about the Crochet Magical Mystery Tour. And thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.